Hello, everyone, and welcome back to more International 5 European Qualifier action. We're getting ready to jump into our second series today. It's the Hellraisers taking on London Conspiracy. I'm Dakota Gobble Guy. Joined to my immediate left-hand side right here, we have the Capitalist.
Hello.
Nice cast there, my friend. Very nice series. A trade of 1-1 between NIP and Alliance. How you feeling? Still good?
I'm feeling good. That was definitely the series that I wanted to watch the most. This next one is going to be probably one of the most interesting because I feel like these two teams we have some of the least information on.
All right, fair enough. Well, who's going to bring us the insight for these two teams? It's going to be those gentlemen right over there. Boom! Cinderin and Merlini, how you guys doing? We're looking forward to your insight cast. How do you feel already about these two squads? We know everyone's kind of like up in the air as far as London Conspiracy. They came into this qualifier with a very impressive 2-0 over Na'Vi. For Hellraisers, it's a bit more grim. They have 3 different series, a couple of draws. One was a shutout. If they drop one of these games, it might be pretty much over for them.
It is, actually. I think it's over. Impossible if they get a draw.
I was trying to be somewhat optimistic, but you're right, it's over for them.
Well, you can be optimistic. They have a shot if they get a 2-0.
Yeah,
so they have something to play for.
Oh, absolutely.
So that we get the standings here. Currently, Hellraisers, 3 games played as the only team in the group apart from Na'Vi. And, of course, generally judging from how other qualifiers have been going, teams that get top 2 generally have 7 or more points, maybe even 8 or more points. But the European qualifiers have had so many draws. It's actually ridiculous how many draws we've had. And Hellraisers, well, unfortunately for them, as far as points go, they've only had draws. And you really need one of those wins.
Yeah, this is it for them. This is their last stand to be able to hope for a tiebreaker situation, but they will need that 2-0 shutout. So with that, I know a draft is already underway, so as soon as we can, we're going to be hopping into that said draft. But Ben, what are we expecting out of that draft in particular? We know that for London Conspiracy, they could be a bit crafty here. We question Na'Vi on the research for London Conspiracy because they like to throw together some fun matchups. In that one particular game that stood out to probably most people, the Shadow Demon plus the Kunkka plus the Invoker, and they seem to abuse that kind of a combo across the globe.
Hellraisers seem to lose out late game when in really close situations. They lost yesterday versus Yellow Submarine, even with Wisp Tiny, generally regarded as two of the strongest late game duo in the game. So I don't know. I really don't think Hellraisers should have been 0-2 yesterday, 1-1 versus Yellow Submarine, and I really think that should affect their mentality because that was one that they really needed to win to secure top 2. So now their morale is probably a little bit low. They're questioning some of their drafts that usually is pretty consistent for teams such as Wisp Tiny, and maybe even more emphasis on the early game push strats. They ran an Undying Pugna to great success yesterday, and today looks like they'll lead off with a Drow and a Dazzle.
No Visage yet, so that could be a particular secondary option. But I guess when you need to win, you go for a Drow.
I'm not sure why, but
yeah. What would be the potential reasoning of you not going for a Visage and instead going for a Dazzle of all the supports that you could have had instead of the Visage?
The latest patch? Is that a big enough nerf that teams that would have picked it in the past don't anymore?
I don't think so.
So what was changed was that pseudo-heroes like Familiars don't get affected by the aura globally, but only actively if you use it or if you're inside the 900 AoE, isn't it? For Drows.
Didn't seem to deter much teams, at the Summit 3. I mean, they seem to always put primary as far as...
Oh, was that nerf already in there?
No,
it came after the Summit.
Came after.
Oh, it did come after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, I'm
not sure, though.
I think it's pretty big. I guess they're usually together for at least a minute at a time, so that's a lot of downtime that you don't necessarily want. Dazzle will be able to push the lane a lot more prior to level 6, though, so maybe they're looking for even more early game towers than, let's say, 10-15 minutes, which is when Drow usually takes down towers.
Yeah, and Sustain is really nice to have. I mean, there's a lot of synergy with Weave going for a Drow Ranger, which usually gives everyone a lot of physical damage. You've got the Sustain of Dazzle Heal, which really benefits push lineups, and then the Shallow Grave, usually very beneficial, particularly against burst damage and Leshrac. I mean, the only key hero that was out for London Conspiracy, being able to just save that hero for another 5 seconds can mean a lot, no matter who it is. So
I think Hellraiser is almost all in the early game /push. And they ban out Gyro, one of the best carries versus it. They ban out AA, and then LC also see it coming, banning out the Pugna, which they used yesterday, and the Visage, which is also for push. So it looks like a very heavy physical damage tower siege lineup.
The dual auras now in form here as Vengeful Spirit will be picked up. And also to note, that Spirit Breaker that was grabbed second from London Conspiracy, obviously they like to utilize that being able to get in the face of Drow, but still Gus can keep him back a bit. So interesting here.
And it does stop charge, right? Gust does stop charge. I believe.
I don't.
No,
I don't think so.
Are you sure? I could recollect.
It doesn't stop TPs, so it doesn't stop like channeling spells, and I don't
not a
think
channel,
silence. I don't think silences stop charge.
5 seconds.
No, it's
I
the
don't think it
knockback.
does.
I
That's
think
it.
knocks
The
him out.
knockback.
You
I
gentlemen
can't
nerd sweat
I mean,
this
you can
draft.
go
I'll
through.
do it.
You can
So
go through
definitely,
cogs.
definitely blast stops charge. We can agree on that much, right?
Yeah, but it also
Yeah.
stops channeling. It stops TPs.
Right.
Gust
And-
doesn't stop
That's
TPs.
And you
No,
can also.
That's actually. I'm not 100%.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, but either way, right? The good setup from Hellraisers is that they have two supports that work really well with physical damage, and then on top of that, they have two saving mechanisms for the Drow Ranger anyway. So even if you can't gust away the charge, you should always have like one Shallow Grave and two a swap.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's the way you utilize Drow best nowadays is that you run either 4 or 5 ranged heroes and you have at least one of them be clear protection for Drow. I think
Yes.
it's got to be the most successful Drow lineups. Of course, in addition to or apart from the Visage lineups, I would guess the win rate is highest when played with Avenge, for example. It's really just about keeping Drow alive. The swap is a very natural synergy. You re-allow marksmanship marksmanship to be activated by just swapping her back, because then she gets the distance again on a Spirit Breaker, for example. And yeah, with Dazzle they have the double protection. Now they need some sort of team fight, I think, so that London Conspiracy don't just run into them and then you can swap back and try to keep Drow alive. But if they can just keep running into you after that, then you still have a problem. So
What about further sustain then at that point? Because you're not dealing with an ancient apparition. Heals are pretty beneficial. What if you ran something like a Viper mid, which does give you some early team fight capabilities and is also able to go for like the mech?
that could be a pick. It's not my stereotypical team fighter, but for the reasons you mentioned, mech is definitely a really that is a team fight item. That's just how it is.
Yeah. And it pairs up good against
yeah.
the Queen of Pain and Leshrac, which would be my other reasoning.
I like a Viper pick here. I think it's good. Viper Strike is a great tool against Leshrac. It's not really what you think about when you think about how do we counter Leshrac. You usually look like how do we burst him down so he doesn't get to keep casting his spells.
Right.
But ultimately, kiting him is actually a really big part of especially mid-game team fights way of dealing with him. So the Pulse Nova becomes pretty useless. Edict doesn't really do anything. And
I think it's a little bit
Just
too
keep
all in
distance.
though, because then they don't have any way to. They have very little ways to stop the Spear Breaker charge. They have very little ways to control the Queen of Pain, and I think they do need a mech carrier, but it's maybe they'll get Darkseer or something offlane. Although that's not the best combination of heroes for them. I mean, they could also turn to something like a Dragon Knight, which is ranged a lot of the time, provides some stun for Queen of Pain, although they have a lot of magic damage to go with that. So we've seen Drow Ranger. I remember in the Summit 3 finals, it was Drow Ranger and Drow were picked very early on by Secret, and they lost with it, and immediately they switched to Drow Ranger and Clockwork, and it seems to be a better combination.
Sorry, I think you said Drow Ranger and Drow.
Oh, sorry, Drow Ranger and Darkseer, and
Yeah.
then they switched to Drow Ranger and Clock.
Okay.
Immediately after they lost the first game, and this one was much more successful, just because it's a much better front line, and there seems to be some synergy with Vacuum and Gust, but it just seems like having Clockwork to stop any sort of burst onto Drow Ranger. Let's say Spirit Breaker charges in, instead of trying to stop his charge, you just let him charge it, and then you kill everyone else behind him with a Clockwork hookshot, and then isolate the Spirit Breaker. So that's not a bad way of going about it.
I do like the Shadow Demon, though, as a retort. Good at zoning back the Clockwork quite a bit. And, of course, we all know his disruption scales throughout the game very, very well. Even if you get a hold of a Drow Ranger and her impressive right-click, you can utilize that back against her. So I'm always a big fan of Sea Shadow Demon.
I'm just looking for the Kunkka. I think that could be their last pick.
Ooh.
No, I was actually just about to say that London Conspiracy is so heavy on dual roaming that I actually thought there was still a possibility that Leshrac would be run as a 4 position with a Shadow Demon, but that's also kind of questionable. I think that might actually be it, because you don't run Shadow Demon and Spirit Breaker as 2 supports, right?
It's a carry Venge, I think, is actually.
Man, this draft actually got really weird really fast.
Yeah,
it really did.
Okay, so let's see. It has to be Shadow Demon Leshrac support duo with Lycan safe lane. I really don't think you run Shadow Demon Spirit Breaker. They have bad synergy. Just flat out, I would say. I mean, if you time it really well so that the charge lands right after disruption ends or something, I think the charge still goes on. But that's not the play. And
they had Skanks playing the Leshrac, which means he's the 4 position.
Yeah.
So more credence to that.
And then for Hellraisers, you said Core Venge. I think it's a core dazzle, actually.
It's a core dazzle?
Yeah. I think that's what they're going to do. They want to get the weave up really fast. They want to get their sustain up really fast with Shadow Wave, and then they're just looking to push the
So what do you
He's
put
also
him?
a mech carrier. If Chen doesn't get it, it depends.
And he's a really good 1v1 in mid, right? That's where you put him?
Or safe lane. He beats
Safe lane?
pretty much every
Okay.
offlaner. Just poison touch and you just hit
Yeah,
them.
he's incredibly good in 1v1 scenarios. It's just the question of whether or not he can go into the mid game and actually be fully capable. But in a fast kind of oriented push lineup, the idea of just valuing your sustain so much, I guess, would actually make it successful up until like what you would say, like 30, 35 minutes. You start falling off pretty hard.
Yeah. Do you think it's Venge still? Core?
I'm not sure. I think
We're
if
not
they,
seeing it yet.
if they put Dazzle mid, I think Spirit Breaker's going to own it.
I don't think they put Dazzle mid. I think if they play core, they
But
play
Dazzle bottom versus Spirit Breaker, I also don't think is that good because Spirit Breaker has a ton of armor. I don't really think he's going to get harassed out that well. So I don't.
Can Venge do that then?
I think Venge scales better with farm, but Dazzle scales better with levels. Like it's
Yeah.
more important for him to get levels. It's more important. It's strange.
It's about the timing.
Everyone's puzzled. We can get our
It's a
answer.
mid Chen. Let's go.
That'd be pretty sick.
We can find out in just a few seconds, gentlemen, as the game gets underway, and then we won't have to wonder any longer. So why don't we go ahead and just hop into the game number one? And you got to remember, very important matchup for the Hellraisers. Right into that pause. But maybe with everyone getting assigned to their roles, I mean, given they could still make some swaps, maybe that gives a bit more information. But okay, here we go. Game going to be back underway. Hellraisers, they need to get both wins to stay alive. Just one is not going to be enough. London Conspiracy had a good, strong start, 2-0ing Na'Vi. Then they dropped 2 games. So if they can string together a couple of wins, they're still going to be in a good spot. If they get 2 wins here, they're in a very good spot. So, with that said, gentlemen, please take it away. It's going to be Cinderin and Merlini bringing you the cast. We'll see you at the conclusion of this series.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you were right. Ben, it looks like it is going to be a core Venge. It is played by Artus, who is the carry for Hellraisers. So they will be playing Dazzle as support by Goretz. Chen rotating up as well. It's going to be played by Gotham. We've got Afo Ninja playing as the Drow Ranger, and of course finally that leaves Dread playing as the Clockwork. And for London Conspiracy on the other side, SSA Spartan will be looking for the top rune as Shadow Demon. We've got S224J, I think Cap called him Skanks, will be playing as the Leshrac. Madara onto the Queen of Pain. Kaiser on Lycan, and finally Spirit Breaker.
So the
by Skylark.
Lycan pick came, I would say, within 5 seconds after the Chen pick.
Yeah.
So they had their heart set on Lycan, it seems like, but wouldn't you be taken immediately aback by the Venge pick if you were in their shoes and been like, by the Chen pick and be like, okay, well, they're running a core Venge or a core Dazzle in the safe lane. Shouldn't we really reevaluate our picks? Do you think it matters that much?
I think they just wanted someone who can run down the Drow through all of the defensive abilities.
But why not, let's say, like, Bristleback instead or something like that?
I'm not sure Bristle would have been better. He suffers pretty much against Weave. And if you get also the cogs counter him very well. You could say the same for Lycan, but he has an easier time working around them with his high movement speed. And when he gets in on Drow, I feel like he's a lot deadlier than Bristle, who needs to build his damage up over the fight. And again, that just speaks to HR's strength.
I mean, even just not Bristle, even just like, I mean, there has to be a lot of other options that they could have considered. I mean, it definitely threw me off that they picked Chen last. And I mean, Lycan's a really good early game hero. He has really good lane control. He can help out his other lanes with Howl. So it's definitely a good pick here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely solid. It's also a favored pick for LC, I believe. I seem to remember that yesterday against Navi it got banned once, if not twice, by Navi. So LC definitely have been running that in the past. It's not really a trendy pick right now. So if you ban that against a team, it goes to show that they've definitely had a couple of strategies with it. Or I could just be remembering completely wrong, but I feel like I've seen it. So
Dazzle really needs a TP. I think the most vulnerable hero in this is Drow Ranger easily, and if she charges, like Queen of Pain's already like a pretty good matchup versus Drow, I think. And if she dies like 1 or 2 times, it's going to be awful for the Drow Ranger all game, and that really just limits their entire strategy. So they do have an Observer Ward down there to see if there is a charge coming. Like, Chen may be able to save her as well, but usually you see them try and farm a really fast mech. We also saw the offlaner Dread. He bought a TP scroll at the very start of the game to get that Observer Ward down safely, and I think that's an interesting play that we don't see often enough.
yeah, he's getting a lot of value out of that right now. I don't even know if they have a Sentry Ward to counter it at this point in time. Dread is at least seems to be playing really aggressively, or at least getting a lot of it. No sentries, so that is indeed very valuable. Easily worth it to spend 100 gold in a TP for just keeping a ward up for even just a few minutes, say it gets countered later on. So what's the laning status right now? Lycan and Venge both farming well. Oh, charge actually onto Gotham. He gets a 17% there, but not going to follow through after that. And the rune will go Chen's way. 2 minutes in here as Drow. You said Drow versus Quap. I feel like I've seen this matchup a couple of times, and generally it doesn't seem like Drow or Quap has the upper hand. Because when you want to go in and cast Shadow Strike, you just gust and hit her.
Yes, but I think in the later phases, like 4 minutes onwards, when you can't really right-click that much, and you're much more scared of ganks, I think Quap has a lot more kill potential on the Drow Ranger. And especially with
this is a good disruption. They can follow it through with... Oh, they missed the combo. Very unusual misplay from LC, who yesterday were out of control with their roaming combo with Shadow Demon Kunkka as well as the Invoker Sunstrike. But this time around, they do not manage to land it. Dread will get stunned up here this time. Soulcatcher as well. He does have the cogs well placed, and this is going to end that fight as what the? First blood for the Drow against the Quap. That's really the start you're looking for.
Yeah, that's really huge for Drow Ranger. And, I mean, Queen of Pain's supposed to be, like, the dominator here, and she's their main source of AoE since Leshrac is a support, so keeping her down, especially without any sort of rotation, I'm not sure if there was, like, a Satyr. I saw the Satyr creep running around earlier. I don't know if it spanned out a couple of shockwaves, but Queen of Pain dying in that matchup is terrible for London Conspiracy.
And she's gonna show up in the lane once again with a blink, missing the scream on the Drow, and already using 150 mana for basically nothing, which is not the end of the world for her, but it is, of course, going to be an important resource. When you're playing from behind in the mid lane, sometimes you're just going to have to resort to spamming out lanes a little bit with your spells, and at least that's one thing Quap is going for, almost regardless of how many times she dies in this lane. She will be getting the runes.
Yeah.
And maybe that can set her up for a comeback, as Shadow Demon's looking for the rotation. Not really sure what the idea was here for Spartan, just basically giving information to HR for no reason, showing himself in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's the early game, definitely not what LC expected. This should have been... The Observer Ward on top definitely helped. They even have a Sentry to kill London Conspiracy. The Observer Ward in top lanes, and they missed a kill on Dread, so Dread has 3 things going his way in the top. Madara dying in the mid lane is just horrendous, because Drow Ranger is going to get level 6 even quicker, which will make the bottom lane much more tough for the Spirit Breaker.
And the scary thing for LC is that they're not even contesting the Chen. So, economy-wise, it's also a win for the Radiant, as Gotham is almost going to be level 4 by now. Not sure if they managed to set up any stacks for him for this Wild Wing, apart from that one. Alright, they haven't stacked that one. They're basically just pulling that. He's looking to make another one here. I think that was good pull timing on the Wolves, so it should be a double. Yep, it is indeed.
I think they need more smokes on... I think...
They gotta do something.
Yeah, mid and top, they're supposed to be always scared of SD Lesh, but as we saw, like, Dread is playing pretty far up. He was even contesting, like, the pool camp at some point. Drow Ranger is getting a ton of farm, highest level in the game right now, and as you said, they have a Chen. So it's pretty much like 2v4 in the top and the mid combined, and LC is losing both of those, which is quite the surprise.
Yeah, they at least managed to keep Clock pretty low level, even with Dread's Ward. We saw him only being level 1 when he got chased down at the top rune.
Yeah, but he's keeping the supports there.
But yeah, he's keeping them busy, and that's a win in itself. When you're playing against Shadow Demon Lesh, if you don't die in the offlane by minute 6, you're generally doing something right, unless you're level 1. And he's got 10 CS, actually, on the clock, so that's pretty damn good for Dread.
Setting up for a move
level
to the
4.
mid. So, yep, they can kill him, but they have Observer Ward. It's going to pop if he comes to the wrong side.
Checking the top rune. Scholar's going to find the bottom rune as well. That's a regen. And they're thinking about the charge play. Oh, he's going to find Gotham, actually. He's just going to go to town. Never mind. I'm going to take this fight. I think Spirit Breaker wins that engagement, but I guess he's scared of the rotation, which he had very good reason to be. Dazzle was coming in from below. Yeah, and let's look at this in isolation. How good do you think... So this is a kind of lineup we haven't seen very often. How good do you think Venge core is with Drow Aura? Because
I think really good if you want to end the game early. I think they're looking to end the game, or at least take Roshan, before 15 minutes. So you can also tell by his build with the Ring of Basilius that he just wants to push down towers very, very early on.
Charge onto FNJ, but he is already farming that small camp there. And
I mean, he already has 929 HP. I think he's going Arteezy's build with no Frost Arrows. I don't know if it's his build, but he does it quite often.
Yeah. it looks like the kind of game in which Frost Arrows are actually almost useless. They're looking to brute force towers. He's not really able to hunt down, like, slow, doesn't matter against the Lycan. They're going to land the combo on Dread up here. Good damage coming out from Skanks as well as Spartan, but will it be enough? He might actually be able to make it out of this.
Wow. And he magic picked right
15
before.
health.
That was so good. And that's 2 towers about to fall. Spirit Breaker offers nothing. I mean, you can charge in, but you're just going to get melted. And what damage is Vengeful Spirit sitting at this early into the game?
She's hitting for 150 or something. Yeah, 142 right now. And that's only with the level 2 command aura. Has actually taken, or Vengeance Aura rather. Here's the TP support coming in, but they've already taken down Skylark before it starts. Spartan as well has to self-disrupt as a desperate measure here, but it's not going to be enough. Maybe it is, actually. Wave of Terror won't kill him off. Arts will try to TP out. He will also make it out on no HP, just like Clockwork a moment ago. And when the dust settles, it's going to be a 2 for 2, which I think if you're HR, you're okay with this. You got 2 towers,
Yeah,
you force a rotation,
Drow's
Lycan ult.
Drow's going to take mid.
Yeah, that's definitely good for them. It looks like a win for LC with the 400 gold gain there, but
They needed a TP earlier, I feel like. Like, Spirit Breaker wanted to go in because he didn't want his tower to fall, and then he just died before the TPs came in. Granted, they still got a couple of good kills, but you don't want your towers to start falling this early, especially when those are the gateway to the Aegis.
it's interesting to see the net worth distribution here. Bottom 3 are LC, and their 2 cores are still behind the 2 cores of the enemy team, so it's actually a pretty significant advantage HR are building here. And I've just got the feeling that the moment this mech comes up on Chen, which is only 800 gold away, I don't even know if LC have the burst. The way I can see them taking a fight is that they isolate and kill the Chen instantly, and then they snowball it from there. Hand of God and mech is going to keep everyone else alive if they go for the team fight combo, and let's say they initiate on the Drow. I actually don't think they can kill her with
They can't isolate the Chen. No, there's just no way. I mean, unless Chen's just horribly out of position. But his creeps will be in the front line, and then you have to worry about the Clockwork. And
Oh, that's a good rocket. There is the potential play. He does have hookshot up on Dread. This could be another big play for HR if they time it well. Kaiser actually super low. There's the hookshot. He's going to get caught inside the cogs. And pardon me as my voice is cracking entirely, but Dread will kill him off. Roche still alive. They're going to get the Spirit Breaker as well. Lots of damage going the other way. Oh, Lightning Storm doing a lot of work as Dread will bring down the Shadow Demon. They've lost no one and taken 4. And now the Roshan is probably theirs for the taking. I don't think Quap can protect this on her own with no Sonic Wave remaining. HR with a big steal, and this just looks like it could be a very quick game. She's even going to try for the steal and fail. Full team wipe. That's ambitious. You got to give it to him. That was an
do you
ambitious-
think LC were that far behind that they go for that play? I mean, it's actually, I don't think it's that high of a risk to go in there. It's like medium risk, medium reward, but I mean, if they really wanted to, I mean, they just lost 1 fight on bottom, right? That was, or lost 2 towers, and before that, it wasn't even that big of a deal. Like, usually when you see people go for that sort of roach play, they can take it quickly, or like HR's pushing top lane and they know is almost going to go uncontested. They might have the T1 on bottom, so they may feel a little bit more protected. But I mean, was that worth it to even try for it? I mean, obviously it wasn't worth it in the end, but like going into it, like, you know, a minute, like 30 seconds before it happened, are you going to make the call, hey, let's smoke in a Roche? And I don't think they can contest it in time.
I think they should have definitely tried to put some pressure on some lane and get some, like, spread out HR first. So if they would have pushed top a bit with Lycan, and then they force a TP rotation, for example, and then he just ports down, and then they try Roche so they can win on numbers, that might have been the play. I would agree it was a little bit desperate at that point in time. They are, however, analyzing the situation correctly, that they were losing and needed to do something. And
I mean,
I
they
don't
weren't
blame
losing
them
by
for
that
doing it.
badly. I mean,
It's not just how far behind they are on goal, it's just how far behind they are in the game plan. Like, their early game has fallen apart, and we're going to reach, like, HR's lineup hadn't even peaked yet. It's going to peak, let's say, minute 15 to 20. If you don't start getting something accomplished with your LC lineup, that's... I don't see them, like, if they don't do that Roche, what else do they do? How do they get
I
it?
think they stall pushes. They stall pushes with like a Leshrac spam, and then they look for a good charge in with a big Quap ultimate to start off the fight. And
It
then
just seems really unlikely that they'll be able to pull that off with a...
okay, let's say that if that doesn't work out, then they can just split push with Lycan, and then, I mean, they're not going to be able to push as fast, but I mean, I definitely agree that they were behind, and I definitely agree that they had to do something, but it just seems like it was way too desperate a measure, way too obvious that and HR just read it completely. Very nice play from Dread though, and I don't know, the SD Lesh seems very, very weak. And I mean, support Lesh doesn't even seem that strong anymore.
No, I like him a lot more in core these days. Teams have been successful running him as support, especially together with Shadow Demon, but it's a really volatile duo where it can go really well or really wrong. And in this game, it's the latter. They're going to go for the charge in on Arx. He still has the Aegis, though, as Dread gets a hookshot. Nice Sonic Wave, going to clip 3, if not even 4 there, but Spartan, 3-shot by Afo Ninja. He's going to go onto the Spirit Breaker as well. Now the swap on Quap. They're getting completely run over, not even losing a single hero yet, not even losing a single hero in like the last 7 or 8 minutes. Skylark's going to charge in. There's the Gust. It does stop it. And Lesh just going to get blown up as it looks right now. Lycan trying to go in. He can't even run into these heroes. He's just going to get completely shut down if he tries. Pokes a little bit onto Dread, but ultimately going to have to run away as the damage is just way too overwhelming for HR. London Conspiracy, they're going to have to... I don't know. At this point, it almost looks like... That was a good Sonic Wave. They had the Lightning Storms. They got the charge got disrupted, but I think with Gus canceling that, it's very easy for F1 Ninja to see it coming and just stop it. I don't know if they can get a better fight than that. And it wasn't even close. Like
it wasn't. Even they had Weave up. They have all these like small synergy with the Drow, the Vengehara, the Alpha Wolf, Creep. I mean, the Weave, offensive, like, none of these heroes can take, like, more than 4 or 5 hits from the Drow Ranger, and Quap blinks in.
Oh, there's a swap onto Spartan again, and a... Okay. That's a Drow Ranger for you. Hook shot onto Lesh, and will be another easy kill going the way of HR. No response. This is just game. Like, 13 minutes. LC are like, let's get out of here. Try to focus on game number 2.
HR are still contenders for the top 2 spots. Actually, I think it's only the 2nd spot that is available.
And this is a good stat to see, because the unfortunate situation for HR is it's not enough that they win this game, but it's the only chance they have at having a shot at getting it, like a tiebreaker for 2nd place. They have to win 2-0. It's a shame for them that, I mean, this kind of play, I don't... Were they the ones that ran the Undying?
Yeah, they ran
Undying push
Pugna
shot yesterday. So they have, I think they have the 2 shortest games in the qualifier where a team just drafts well and just runs a team over.
That's what they're good at, though. They're good. They're great at early fighting, and they're good at taking towers early. And if you don't defend, they will just keep on going.